Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. So, you might have heard short sellers saying, the big boys are coming and will be able to produce millions of EVs and simply crush Tesla in production and scale up faster than Tesla can. But we continue to get some great examples of how this is simply just not the case. And if you think the old legacy automakers are in big trouble because of the switch to EVs, well, I have just learned about yet another big problem they're facing to fuel the fire already burning under them. And this one more thing. And it's not a good Apple kind of one more thing, but a one more thing that could kill them all on its own. And this is just on top of all the other big problems legacy automakers are facing. So, let's take another look at the speed of Tesla compared to legacy and what this big one more problem is. And let's dive right in. So let's start by talking about Volkswagen versus Tesla when we are talking about ramping up EV production, because Volkswagen is the one that is making some of the biggest and fastest move in the auto industry. So just remember, everyone else will be slower than this. This is the biggest competitor Tesla has right now when it comes to production volume of EVs. So let's look at Volkswagen's biggest and most efficient EV factory they have, and the first factory in history to be turned from ICE to 100% EVs, all according to Volkswagen, of course, Volkswagen's legendary factory in Zwickau. Volkswagen spent 1.2 billion euros to shift that plant's production from 3 legacy models to 6 pure EVs from Volkswagen, Seat and Audi, all based on a new MEB platform. But Zwickau is not a new plant. Zwickau is a historic plant that built the famous Trabant 1.1. Since the reopening of the site in 1990, it has produced more than 5.5 million Volkswagen vehicles. But that is over 30 years this factory has produced that, so that means that the factory has only produced an average of less than 200,000 cars per year. But Volkswagen have said that the plant will be more efficient and be able to produce more cars than before after retooling the factory with state-of-the-art production technology. And production will gradually increase, reaching 330,000 vehicles per year by 2021. Volkswagen stated back in 2019. So Zwickau is Volkswagen's largest and most efficient EV factory. This is the best Volkswagen can do. State-of-the-art production technology. And it produces EVs 3 times slower than Tesla produced the Tesla Model 3. And Tesla's factory in Grünheide will be even faster, producing Model Ys at speed we have never seen before. But Volkswagen doesn't really seem to realize this, but is focusing on the 10 hours it takes to build the Model 3, and that being their target to get to Tesla's production speed of 2021 by 2026. And Tesla will already be at a quicker pace this year with their 2 new, much bigger factories. But Zwickau started EV production in November 2019 with the ID.3. And Tesla's Shanghai factory started production only 2 months later in January 2020 with their Tesla Model 3. So these 2 factories are actually very good comparison to how fast is Volkswagen ramping up production and how fast is Tesla ramping up production. Because this was also the short seller thesis that legacy automakers knew how to manufacture and would come in and show Tesla how it's done. Because they thought building an EV was the same thing as building an ICE car, which Jim Farley, Ford CEO, has been out saying is very, very different. So firstly, just the conversion of the Zwickau factory took over 26 months, so over 2 years, and cost $1.33 billion. Tesla's Giga Factory 3 in Shanghai took 12 months to build, from breaking ground to starting production, and that part of the factory should have cost about $2 billion. So it's not like Volkswagen saved a ton of money retooling the factory compared to building a brand new factory from scratch. And even Tesla's slowly built factory in Germany, compared to anything else Tesla has built, will not take more than 26 months to build from breaking ground to start production, because that should start here in March. And the first phase of 4 should have a capacity of 500,000 units. So not really much advantage for Volkswagen to retool than to build from scratch. So how did these two factories compare then in 2021 when they started production almost at the same time? Well, in 2019, Volkswagen said they expected to be at the factory's full capacity of 330,000 vehicles by 2021, but Stefan Lott, the chairman of the board of Volkswagen's Saxony, the Zwickau factory, said in January here in 2022. Our focus now, depending on how the semiconductor shortage pans out, will be on achieving full capacity. This year we are aiming to exceed the 180,000 vehicles Volkswagen Saxony built in 2021. So Zwickau did build 180,000 EVs in 2021. What did Tesla's Shanghai factory build in 2021? Well, it produced about 470,000 EVs, so hardly even comparable, and has a production run rate right now of over 800,000 units. In just the last 3 months, Tesla's Shanghai factory has built the same amount of EVs than Volkswagen Zwickau did in all of 2021. And Tesla is still ramping up and expanding one of its production line by 50%, which should be ready by April, adding another 20% capacity to the total factory. So if everything goes well, Tesla's Shanghai factory will probably produce something about 800,000 cars here in 2022. And Volkswagen is aiming for getting to full capacity this year if everything goes right for them as well, and that is 330,000 EVs. So Tesla is moving so much faster, it's ridiculous, doing so much more with less, producing EVs 3 times faster but earning about 30% gross margin on them, while Volkswagen hardly makes money on their EVs. Volkswagen is not gaining on Tesla, not even a little bit. And these two factories are a very good showcase of just that. And that retooling all factories will never work. Remember, Zwickau is Volkswagen's most efficient factory, state-of-the-art production technology. But Volkswagen have said they will not just convert the old headquarters at Wolfsburg anymore. Now they have learned and seen how many limitations that gives them compared to the way Tesla has done it by building the factories from the ground up. As Volkswagen said, constructing an all-new plant is an alternative to adapting the existing Wolfsburg plant to producing the Trinity model, which Volkswagen says would limit the possibilities for more radical changes to the manufacturing process. Yes, Volkswagen, finally. But impressive, they didn't see this 5 years ago, but waited until now. But this also means that Volkswagen's new plant here they're talking about will not be ready until 2026. And Tesla is about to turn on 2 new factories this month that will both be producing cars faster than Tesla has ever done before. No wonder Volkswagen is scared of the Grünheide factory. It will have a 4-year head start to Volkswagen's new plant they will build over the next 4 years. And we have already just seen that Tesla is able to ramp up much faster than Volkswagen, even if Volkswagen gets a 2-month head start. But nice to see them waking up and realizing that Tesla has been innovating on the way we produce cars, the machine that builds the machine, and realizing they can't use their old factories in the new world if they want to try to keep up. But what a testimony to Tesla's innovation and disruption they're doing that someone like Volkswagen is now saying they will try to copy Tesla's way of doing things. It is Tesla they want to catch. It is Tesla's production speed they want to beat. And like Jim Farley, Ford CEO, also was out saying kind of the same things. As I talked about in my last news episode, that Jim admitting Ford doesn't have the right talent to even make the shift to EVs. And they want to try to copy Tesla's way of buying an EV without the dealers that are killing legacy automakers, and admire Tesla and what they have done and see them as the leader, and will really like Tesla's business model of earning $10,000 per vehicle. They would really like that. Just try to let this sink in for a moment. two of the biggest boys in the industry are both saying Tesla is the one they want to try to copy. Can you even find another example in any other industry where the biggest competitors, that is supposed to be the one that's going to be able to beat you, is praising your company as the one to beat and the one they will try to copy, basically admitting they are so far behind and will not be able to keep up for the next half decade before they bring their new factories online? Well, you won't see someone like Samsung praising Apple or the other way around. This is not normal. This is really a testimony to just how far ahead Tesla is. There is just no other industry that one company is this far ahead than anyone else. And we just see them accelerating and getting even further ahead every single day that clicks by. Unheard of, other than maybe Google on search. And Stellantis has just added to the fire as well. During Stellantis' 2021 earnings call, Stellantis CEO admitted that building EVs is a costly endeavor for the company. He described the cost of electrification as the gorilla in the room. As per the automakers' numbers, building an EV costs 40 to 50% more than an internal combustion vehicle. And no, they don't earn 40 to 50% on the ICE cars, and hereby admitting they are not able to do this with a profit. They will lose money on every EV they sell. The more they sell, the more money they lose. Where have I heard that before? Oh yeah, the short sellers talking about Tesla 3 years ago. Lagging to understand Tesla was a growing company, spending all their money on growing as fast as possible. But this is not the first time that Stellantis is talking about this. Back in November, Stellantis CEO did also say the EV cost burden is beyond the limits of automakers. Not just talking about themselves, but the entire industry in general. And we do know that Tesla is almost 30% gross margin on their vehicles, but the old guys can't seem to get there. But they, of course, have a lot of other things going on than just making EVs. That is adding a lot of cost to the company. And everything is pretty much going the wrong direction for the legacy automakers. And it is even worse than I first thought. But let's just list some of the things we already know, like dealerships that are pretty much killing the old OEMs. Firstly, they don't want to sell the EVs because they don't come in for service and repairs once or twice a year, which is what the dealers are already today making a living on. And they don't earn anything on selling the EVs, so they put ridiculous amount of market adjustment fees on the sticker price, so the cars will easily get $5,000 to $20,000 more expensive than what Ford, for example, is advertising. So dealers are not helping legacy automakers. They are hurting them. And that is why Ford has just been out saying they will try to copy Tesla's less complicated online buying experience. And we already know Volvo is only selling their BEVs online, taking the dealers out of the loop altogether. And the legacy automakers don't really earn money on selling EVs either, as Stellantis has just admitted. So they lose money on every EV they sell, and they are forced to scale that up, not just because of Tesla that are forcing them, but so do governments with CO2 emission targets and so on, and customers that want EVs, and they don't want to lose face to Tesla by showing they can't keep up, so they have to ramp up as fast as possible. And at the same time, the legacy automakers still have their ICE business, which is still what brings in the money, since 95% of their business is still selling ICE cars. But this is also starting to go down, and thanks to Connecting the Dot that shared this video from John McElroy's YouTube channel Autoline Network, where he talks with James Martin, who is a powertrain expert. And he tried himself just how difficult it is to wind down just one engine program. Not because of EVs coming, no, just wanted to stop production of one engine. And this was almost an impossible task to do. And now the auto industry have to wind down all of their ICE engines. So let's just hear it from James himself here on Autoline Network.
So I reached out to James Martin, who's a powertrain expert at IHS Markit. I think he's one of the best engine guys in the business. We just had him on Autoline After Hours, and he told me from his own personal experience how tough it was to wind down just one engine program. That was the LT5 supercharged V8 that went in the Corvette ZR1 and was made by Mercury Marine in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
I had the responsibility to develop a plan to take the LT5 engine out of production. But in bringing that engine out of production, we wound up having to spend a lot of time working with existing suppliers, explaining to them that your volume is going from here to zero in this amount of time. Or that, and this was an even tougher message for some of them, but we still need you to support service. We still need you to to support warranty replacement of components. And it was very difficult for those suppliers. Some of them went out of business during the process. Some of them went out of business before the engines left the line.
Listen to what he said. That's pretty alarming. Suppliers were going out of business even before the production of that engine came to an end. And that was on a specialty, low-volume engine. So what happens when a traditional car company has to shut down an icy engine that's mass-produced? The ripple effect is going to be massive.
It's hard to see this happening without some level of disruption. When you look at the size in terms of volume of some of these engine platforms, it's just going to be really too difficult to bring them down in a real, relaxed fashion. There's going to be some stress in the system.
You know, I've asked a number of top executives in the industry how they plan to wind down their IC powertrain operations in the future. I really didn't get any good answers from any of them, probably for two reasons. Number one, they don't want to panic the people that work in those plants, and they don't want to panic the communities where those plants are located. Number two, I don't think they really know themselves.
Yes, this is a problem I didn't think about. And as James said, almost impossible with just one engine program. And now the whole auto industry has to wind down all of their many different ICE engines over the next decade. And there are thousands of components for these engines. Remember, automakers don't really make cars, they just assemble them and gets all the thousands of different components from many different suppliers, and their ICE sales will start falling off a cliff. So they will not need as many components anymore, but have to make sure their suppliers doesn't go bankrupt, because they still need all those components long after they have stopped selling the ICE cars, because these ICE cars do need a lot of service. But if you can't get the parts anymore to fix them because the supply is not there anymore, well, the prices of the parts are also going to shoot for the moon if you can even get them. This situation is almost an impossible balance act to do. And this is on top of all the other things we just talked about. And to make things worse, they can just see Tesla speeding along, becoming even more and more profitable, making more money selling cars, electric cars, than they have ever done selling ICE cars. Tesla had more operating income in 2021 with $6.5 billion than Ford with $4.5 billion, and could maybe even surpass GM here in 2022, while selling only a fraction of the cars that they do. Tesla has become a fine-tuned machine, and the others can see Tesla is producing EVs faster than they can, doing it so much cheaper, meaning Tesla is setting the price for EVs, forcing everyone to set their prices lower because no one really has the full package as Tesla, so of course they can't take more for an inferior product. So if it wasn't hard enough already, if not impossible, to make this shift to EVs, as Stellantis CEO said, the EV cost burden is beyond the limits of the automakers. And I think he might be right, because the more we learn, the darker it looks for the old legacy automakers. They can't keep up with someone like Tesla, not even close, that is pushing the whole industry toward 100% EVs. But I don't think the old guys have time enough to wind down their billion-dollar industry, while at the same time scaling up the new one to become profitable before the money runs out and they have to be bailed out. I do start to believe this is simply just beyond the limits of the auto industry. It is happening too fast, the shift is too big, and as Jim Farley said, they don't even have the right talent to make the shift to EVs. This is like asking the carpenter to become a software engineer. while telling him that the software business will not be profitable for a decade, and his sales staff don't want to sell his software, and he can't get the last component to finish building the last houses he is already building, let alone get spare parts to repair the old houses that he is still responsible for, by the way. Oh, and yeah, you will now have a competitor that is making much better software than he is, cheaper and faster. So not only do you have to become a software engineer, but you have to become better at making software than the best software company in the world. Yeah, good luck. I am not rooting for the old guys to die, but it's just getting really hard to see how they're going to be able to do this with all the problems stacking up. Meanwhile, Tesla is just growing bigger, bigger, and bigger until we have saturated the car market with EVs. And that is Tesla that is doing that. Remember, in 2021, Tesla sold more EVs than the whole Volkswagen Group, which is half a dozen car brands, and Ford, and GM, and NIO, and XPeng, all combined. Yes, the competition is coming, but just not for Tesla. And thank you for watching, and until next time, take care out there and be nice.